So yeah, Apocalypse, how you doing, bro?
What's up? Yeah, we're still trying to figure out how to fix Ace's issue, so I'm just going to ask his question for him. It's a very simple one. Actually kind of goes off the earlier point of the Warhammer 40k version of Warcraft. Could a playable race and planet we haven't heard about with powers not in the current game work? So, for example, not the cosmic powers that we know, but if they were to introduce a new playable race with a new power outside of that system, how would that work for you, and what would you like to see?
Oh, that's a difficult fucking question, right? So we already have the potential for that power from the brokers in the Grimoire of the Shadowlands, where the universe starts in its origin with two powers. One of the two eventually becomes what we now know as our cosmos, 6 or 7 powers. The other, which they literally just refer to as the other, remains outside of the cycle. It does not enter into our universe that is the 6. So it is incredibly easy for them to literally draw upon that other power and introduce beings from that other power. Now, what would that power look like? I would love kind of darker, if that makes sense. You know, like a much darker side of our universe. I don't know. I don't know if I genuinely don't know how to describe it, but everything in our universe that is bad, like the Void and the Foul and so on, but dialed up. So from the beings that is introduced, you have to immediately know that their lives weren't good. Their lives were not fun. Whereas we grew up and, we could play outside as children, they had none of that. Their lives were shaped in war. And it sort of shines through. So it would literally be, imagine if the Imperium showed up in Azeroth. What would that look like? Or maybe yeah?
I was just going to say, I mean, it kind of has with the Army of the Light, but there are much darker factions in Warhammer 40k that don't even actually kind of border on the social issues that they've been trying to avoid lately.
Yeah.
So that would be something to kind of keep in mind when you're thinking about this race as well, is something that, they are trying to avoid quite a lot of controversial things lately, but a war planet that was just war from day one, as soon as you're born, like Spartan, like you are trained in the ways of war. Oh, yeah. That would be awesome to see. And I mean, we kind of had that with the Aldraki, right? With the tanky demon hunter weapon.
Yeah.
They're already extinct, but if we found a small kind of refugee camp of them on another planet, that would be kind of cool.
Yeah, I mean, there's many that we haven't seen. So, for example, what about a planet that all of the races on that planet have already been completely corrupted by the Void? So the entire planet is Void corrupted, and not Void Elf. These aren't creatures that simply use the Void. These are mortals that have been literally corrupted from birth. So as soon as you're born, you're already corrupted. And what would a planet like that look like? What would their lives look like? What would they look like to us? Would they be monsters? Would they be normal? There's so much that I think... Or what if there are mortals that live in the Twisting Nether? Planets that slipped into the Twisting Nether and now exist there. What do mortals that basically exist in one of the most chaotic realms of our universe, what would those mortals look like?
Ethereals, right?
Yeah, kind of ethereals, but, from birth, so effectively, do ethereals give birth?
I don't see how they would. They would just kind of split their form, right, and create a new one. That's that's a bit of biology I never thought I'd have to think about. Just kind of cloning themselves because they're gas, right?
Yeah, that just popped up now. They're basically, I mean, they're arcane, and their bindings is what keep their bodies together. Because without the bindings, they would effectively just drift into nothingness. But then, would they be able to make babies? They were mortal once, so technically they should, but because they don't have bodies, maybe they lost that ability. So maybe the ethereals we see now are the only ethereals that's left. And if we killed the last one there, all of them would be dead now.
I mean, maybe that was the point of the biomes on Outland, right? Subjecting them to the Netherstorm to create new ethereals.
Oh. Now that is interesting. So manipulating storms in order to create new ethereal. That could work.
Kind of putting the nether forces into a condensed area within the biomes, and we already saw them messing with dinosaurs and things and speeding up the evolutionary process. So it may just be that's where humans end up after a while, and they just got sped up through the Arcane.
I mean, technically, they know how they became ethereal. So they could turn other beings into ethereal creatures. Because they did it to themselves first time around. And the Netherstorm, in this regard, would provide enough raw arcane power to do that. The arcane domes in the Netherstorm probably also a clue. Dude, why am I thinking about this so hard? Like, why is this now just boring into my brain? Like, how do
there
ethereals...
is another level to it as well. So the Titans had a big fight at Nihilum, a big old planet that got absolutely destroyed when Sargeras had his fight with the Pantheon because of the Fellstorm and the arcane energies the Pantheon released. There were races living on Nihilum at the time. Did they survive? And if so, in what form?
Did all that raw, arcane and foul would almost certainly warp a creature? No?
Oh, definitely warp them, but would they become demons? Or would they become ethereals? Or would they become demonic ethereals?
Demonic ethereal is my immediate, because this would be effectively the light and the void clashing, creating the foul, but only this time you have the arcane and the foul clashing. What does that create? Because it probably isn't even void or foul ethereal. It's probably something entirely new. Right?
I mean, that's speculation at its finest. One of the fundamental unanswered questions. It could go many, many ways.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you could have created the Annihilin, right? The Pit Lords. That could be where they originated from because they have unprecedented power in the arcane, but they are also demons.
I never even thought of that. Dude, what the fuck kind of question was this? Because this is leading to a whole new level of rabbit hole. Ace, fuck you, bro. Jesus. I mean, the possibilities are endless. Even if you want to invent new powers. You know, there are plenty of powers we haven't really seen yet. Just recently, Blizzard introduced a brand new power called Death Druids. You know, which... by all accounts, should physically not be possible. A death druid, it's an oxymoron. Because druids are of life, death is of death. So it's death lives, or life deaths, kind of thing. But yet they can do it. The Drust is literally death druids. And where exactly does that come from? Why is that what they can do? Is that what you get when life and death clash? you get a sort of weird merger, or do you get something entirely different? This again goes to that 40k thing. World of Warcraft is ripe for 40k esque kind of lore. It's got all of the building blocks. It's just waiting for someone to unlock that potential. And if you want to talk about Blizzard using books in the right way, this would be the right way. Explain the universe of World of Warcraft that isn't currently sort of expandable within World of Warcraft, the game. I mean, that would be fucking awesome. The Chronicles sought to do that, and people love the Chronicles. Can you imagine if Blizzard did more books like the Chronicles, only this time telling us about some of the incredible races and planets that exist in the Great Beyond? Some of the incredible powers that exist.
I mean, yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's a whole series of books in the Warhammer universe, the Black Library. And one of the writers that contributes a lot to that kind of collection is William King, who did the Illidan novel, which was actually one of the best novels they've written in quite a few years. So, I mean, they could definitely stand to poach some writers from there for a while, I think.
Rozak, imagine telling this story in-game. So, I am not one of those people that believe that everything should be told in the game and fuck everything that isn't. Because there are things that just don't work as well in a video game, and this would be the Chronicles. How the fuck do you tell the story of the Chronicles in the game without it becoming ridiculously boring for everyone? Because... what? You're just gonna have two people have a conversation for about 30 hours talking about the universe? There's universal stories that no matter what you do, it's not really ever gonna work in the game. Now, there are ways to get around this by adding the Chronicles into the game as an in-game book would be one of them, right? To get around it, so that it is still in the game, but now it's just sort of immortalized within the game as a game book. But outside of that, certain stories just work better if they are in book form, because you can go into a lot more detail in a book that in a game or in a movie, people would get bored. I'll give you a good example of this, Lord of the Rings. So, Lord of the Rings, the movie, the extended version of the movie is incredible. It's a fucking amazing film. The film has nothing on the books. Just in terms of pure lore, it has nothing on the books. So a good example of this, I've only recently started reading the book. I don't have that much time, so I've been reading it quite slowly. But my brother is a lot further along. You know, in the scene where Frodo was stabbed with the blade, and he's sort of being taken by horse, then the horse, the riders are swept away by the river. In the movie, it's...
great scene, not like the book.
Not at all like the book. Because in the movie, it's the girl that basically calls upon the rivers. In the book, it's literally the one of the high elves. It's like one of the... he's basically one with the forest at that point, and he has complete control over all of the rivers in Rivendell. And he's the one that calls the rivers and just sweeps them away. And also, Frodo is on his own. He's not actually with her. So there's a lot more power in certain types of media to tell certain types of stories that you don't get in video games or in movies. And video games, again, have ways of telling stories that books and movies won't be able to tell. But yeah, I'm not a fuck books, or, I don't want any books in the game. Books do have their place, and they can be really fucking cool. So yeah. Oh, and Tom isn't there either. So for those of you that don't know who Tom is actually the warden of the Dark Forest. You don't even meet him in the movies, but Tom is let's just say, stupidly fucking powerful. Oh, fuck it, why am I worrying about spoilers here? This is an old book. Tom is completely unaffected by the ring. He can hold the ring of Sauron and nothing fucking happens to him. Nothing. Frodo goes invisible by putting on the ring. He can still see him. It's like nothing matters to this dude. Tom just does what Tom wants. You know, and as long as he's in that forest, Sauron can literally do nothing to him. So yeah, there's just things that books do that's really cool. And then there's things that games do that's really cool. Apocalypse, you're not against books entirely either, are you?
Oh no, I love books. I read more books than I play games, to be perfectly fair.
Yeah, I would say I play more games than I read books, definitely. I just this weekend started playing XCOM 2. I've been having the time of my life with that game, dude. Saving the Earth from the alien invasion. So yeah, I prefer my games over books, but I have been reading more recently. Just because there is something magical about reading that you don't get from playing video games or from watching TV. So yeah.
Absolutely true. There's the limitation of visualization, right? If somebody else is imagining it for you, it's set. But if you're reading it, you're imagining it yourself. So there is leeway, there's change, there's evolution in there, and it's great. But I think that answers the question there for Ace. Fantastic question.